Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up.
All that jam. A lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands.
Where we break down the jam scene's biggest stories,
Talk new bands.
upcoming tours,
And show reviews. A little laughing, some hot takes, and an always positive message for the community.
Week of October 23rd, 2023, Jeff Mattson.
Welcome back. We had a big week. Let's jump right in. I'm Kevin.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And you're listening to the All That Jam weekly wrap-up, a lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands. We got to speak to Jonathan Byerly from Emergency Group last week and Adam Deitch from Lettuce and various other projects. Actually, coming up next week, we have something about his producer project. And if you check back from last week, we dropped something with Jonathan. So look for more of that on our socials. And I guess we had the big thing Thursday, and I heard that it was a smash. There were some interesting people in the audience. What's the rundown?
Oh man, Kevin, I'm still kind of sitting here in awe of what happened. Yeah, we had a great show. I'm so sorry that you were not there, and Tim Carbone from Railroad Earth also couldn't attend, but you were all there with us for sure. You know what? I think what I learned this past week is that when you get people together who are passionate about music and you start talking to them about things like other people's music, it immediately levels the playing field, and then we all just become music fans. And it was a beautiful thing. The crowd was great, very participatory. Everybody was kind of along for the ride, and I am getting together some links and whatnot so everybody can hear and see the songs for themselves. There was a very interesting mix of people, Kevin, who submitted song choices. Is it cool if I share a couple of those?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so I have to give it up to a lot of our friends in the music scene who kind of answered the call to give song suggestions for our panelists, including Dave Schools came through, Joel Cummins, who we've had on the show, of course, from Umphreys McGee, Brownie, Mark from Disco Biscuits, and another one, Kevin, that I'm not sure I even was able to tell you about because it was so last minute. Joe Satriani also submitted a song for us.
Oh my God. Which song was that? Do we know
Good
off the
question.
top of our heads?
I don't. I can go get the paper. I have the folder though, if you want. I can
Well,
get.
I tell you what, you're going to look for that on our social medias. We are going to drop the whole list, put some of the songs they did.
Yeah, it was great. And DJ Williams made a great comment at the end of the night that I think echoes what a lot of people felt. He didn't know what to expect. And so, Kevin, for me, Thursday night was all about trust and relationships and those that have been built over the years. Every single person that participated and came to the event, including, of course, the people at New Conscious who run the venue, they all took a chance that this was going to be something good, and everyone I think was really happy with how it went. I know I was.
Very nice, very nice. And we're going to look into getting it out there so everybody can hear it if you didn't get a chance to watch it live. And beyond that, hopefully this is going to be happening again. We're talking about it. We're looking at other places. We got a big country we live in, so we want to bring something like this to your town. And if you are interested in something like that, let us know. Hit us up on social media. Say, hey, guys, what about Indiana or
Yeah,
something? I
Kevin,
was trying to think of a town in Indiana, and I just totally blanked. It was just
well, there's so many. It's hard to choose.
right, exactly. That's it.
I mean, where do you even start? But I would,
Indianapolis. I should know Indianapolis.
well, one thing I'll say too is that a small, intimate, locally owned venue is perfect for this.
Hmm.
New Conscious is they're great. They hold about 450 people max. We didn't quite get to that number, but the amount of people we had was great. And honestly, I'm excited to get some pictures out there. Those are coming my way really soon. So I guess expect to hear some more about it.
And there we go. All right, so let's get to the business at hand. Coming up, we have an interview with Jeff Mattson from DSO about how he joined the band and what compels him to play in quote unquote a cover band. The second segment, we take a look at life on the road with him, and we get into a little bit about his philosophy about music and how he looks at life. But before we get into that,
the top 3 stories of the week.
All right, Kevin, let's hear some stories. So, if you are a Phil Lesh fan and you always feel like maybe he doesn't get the attention he deserves, wanted to let everyone know that this was just recently announced. Bob Minkin is going to be publishing a hardcover coffee table book, Just Phil, featuring hundreds and hundreds of photos, a lot that have been unpublished. And basically, they go back 50 something years. So, a timeline, essentially, a history, living history of what Phil has done. And from what I understand, that will basically include photos from obviously his time with the Dead, but at Terrapin Crossroads, Phil and Friends, further just documenting really everything that he's done. And I think that's going to be a pretty cool one. What do you think, Kevin?
I'm all about it. I think Bob has done a Bob one and a Jerry one already, so logical extension. Maybe we get an all keyboard one and a drummer one, and then you have the whole band. No, that's so fun. Phil was, I guess, for me, the first bass player that ever stood out. When you're 13, 14 and you're listening to rock and roll, you know the guitar player, but you never hear about the bass player. When you
Yep.
discover the Grateful Dead, you're like, oh, the bass player is the important guy.
Right. And so, one thing I wanted to mention also is there's a Kickstarter campaign in place to help raise funds to produce this book. If you contribute $65, that basically acts as an advance purchase that will be available in 2 editions, a signature and then a deluxe collector's edition. And I think there's only going to be about 150 copies of those. So, if you're interested, look for that Kickstarter campaign and you can be a part of making it happen.
Yeah, we'll dig the link up, put it in the notes.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought that was super interesting. I'm going to save one of these for last, and I'm going to move on to a topic that keeps coming up and it's going to keep coming up, AI. This is the first I've heard of any kind of major organization trying to take a stand against AI. This is Universal Music. They have sued an AI startup called Anthropic for copyright infringement over some song lyrics that they say are identical copies. So, Kevin, check this out. I've not used this AI system myself. When a user asks Anthropic's AI chatbot Claude about the lyrics to the song Roar by Katy Perry, in one
Mhm.
example, generates pretty much that exact same song. And that apparently violates certain rights, of the copyright owner per this filing. So I'm
Just
very
by,
curious.
so then does Google violate it if I tap in Roar lyrics and so the lyrics.com page pops up?
You know what? I think there's some really good protections in place for for Google and other search engines and whatnot. But you know what? These huge, huge groups like Universal, they've got the money and they've got the resources to try to figure out maybe how to take some of this down. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Let them
Um,
fight the fight for us.
that's right. That's right. And this Anthropic has been valued at $4.1 billion.
Wow. But so
Yeah.
I can go in there and say, I need a love song written in the country vein
Mhm.
about a pickup truck, and it'll spit something out for me.
Yeah. I guess, I have to try that one. I'm curious now. Now, Anthropic was one of only 4 companies that met at the White House back in May, I think, to discuss responsible AI development. So, it's interesting because they were backed by Google. They had a huge, huge, fundraising round and whatnot. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. That could be kind of a landmark decision, however that case goes for the
Right.
future of some of what AI does.
I don't think that AI is ever going to take away the human element. As many people as we've talked to about it, I think AI can write you a song, but it's never going to take away a human being writing a song.
Completely agree. This is interesting to me because this lawsuit is slightly different. And I think that copyright angle, which, as we all know in this country, that's huge, right? I mean, it's one of those kind of situations where there's so many different interpretations of it too, that now we're going to see how it gets applied to this kind of brand new environment and what happens there. So yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what happens. I'm sure it will take quite a while for this to get through the courts. But the filing was Wednesday. So here we go.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
That's right. Okay, and then the last story isn't maybe as much of a story, more of just a kind of a comment. I'm sure, Kev, that you've seen, and a lot of others too, the John Mayer Darkstar Wonderland Darkstar video. I think that was from Chicago just a couple of days ago.
Yep.
Lots and lots of talk about it. I've rarely seen so many wildly oppositional opinions on
Mm-hmm.
this. Okay, so for those that maybe haven't seen it yet, I know Live for Live Music has actually a pretty big article about this too. Ever since Mayer started working, around that Grateful Dead scene, I feel like there have been comments, here and there, just about his prior work and how that might fit in, or, a lot of that I think has quieted down right over the years. He's shown just how much he's a student of the Grateful Dead and a passionate, passionate fan,
Exactly.
which is amazing. Your Body is a Wonderland, he was 24. Nothing wrong with that song, but I feel like it's kind of become just part of this kind of legend of him and a joke to a lot of people too. People love
And it
to
was a
poke
big joke in all the Dead and Company groups about Dead and Company should cover that song, and I'm sure he's aware.
Yep.
You
Yeah, and of
know.
course it never did pop up, but
Yeah.
at the United Center last week, he leaned in, and I mean, listen, he's got a great sense of humor. I've heard him on a bunch of podcasts.
Oh, it's great. You got to find the clips if you haven't seen it. There's clips on
So,
YouTube of it.
yeah, there are. But that combo, I'm down for it. Why not? And I think
Well,
it's
he's
all
like some about set list. He made some comment about set list, and yeah, I'm really doing this. And
yeah. Yep. He said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to set it up. It's going to be the weirdest thing you ever saw in your life. And I'm proud to do it. I mean, listen, he's going into it knowing exactly what's going to happen.
yeah.
I love it. I think it's great.
I'm so for it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no better student of Garcia out there than him.
Yeah. Yep. And he even said after, that moment in the show, I do this with extreme love for my brothers in Dead and Company, love and reverence. And
Yeah,
you can do that and still have a smile on your face and
right.
have a great time with it, So,
The next night he busted out They Love Each Other.
mm-hmm.
And last night apparently he did a snippet of Bird Song and the verse of Althea at the show in Baltimore, which no, I was not at.
I'm picking up a little tone in that voice, Kev.
Yeah,
But
I'm
we'll leave
kicking
it there.
myself. Well, my youngest, let's take a left turn. My youngest said, I want to go see Dylan. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to see Dylan again. I saw him like 10 years ago. I was like, that's probably the last time. But
Oh,
so, but there's no tickets. They're all gold standard and verified resale. And any that are regular price are singles, just like speckled, like
right.
15 of them in the whole building. So I said, we're going to wait till the week before.
That's
I'm
right.
sure there'll be tickets all over.
That is the way to do it for sure.
So, all right, let's get into this Jeff Mattson. It was great talking to him. Darkstar gets discounted in some circles as being a cover band, and talking to him, it is so much more than that. This first clip, he talks about Zen Tricksters making the jump when John Kay left the band and everything. And also Amanda asked him about, what compels him to do this as opposed to being a band that's creating all new music and things like that. And he had a great answer. And we'll see you on the other side. Okay. Today we are joined by Jeff Mattson, Zen Tricksters, Darkstar Orchestra, among other things. He has Jeff Mattson and friends are out there sometimes too. How we doing today, Jeff?
We're doing okay.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's I mean obviously Darkstar's the huge thing and we'll get into that, but I would love to hear about the Zen tricksters and
Okay.
some of that history if we want to go back a little ways.
Yeah, that's going way back. We started out actually as the Volunteers on Long Island in 1979. So I guess we're coming up on 44 years. Somehow at the end of uh, I guess it was the end of the 80s, we became the Zen Tricksters. Uh, upon um, there was a lot of people that owned the name the Volunteers. The University of Tennessee Marching Band was the Volunteers, for example. So our lawyers told, if you're ever going to go anywhere, change the name now. And there weren't any other Zen Tricksters, so
There you go. And that was you and Rob Baracco. Who else
well,
was in the
he wasn't an original Zen Trickster. I mean, a lot of people. I'm the only one that's left from 1979. You know, people have come and gone over the years, and current members. I mean, we just play a few times a year now because obviously my time is filled up pretty good by Darkstar Orchestra. But Tom Sacosta, who was a rhythm guitarist, has been with us for a long time. He actually was in the when we were Volunteers, and then he left for a bunch of years and came back. Cliff Black, the bass player, and Jennifer Markard, singer. These guys have been with us for quite a long time, and Dave Diamond on drums. He's another one that came and went and came back, and I can't even keep track. Well, you can imagine 40
yeah,
years. Yeah. It all blends
revolving.
into one long gig in your memory.
Right, very nice. Okay, so you were doing the Zen Tricksters and you ended up in Darkstar. I'm sure that you've told this story more than anything, but how did you? We all know John Kay got into further. How did it happen? Did you just were you the first? I mean, for me, it was an obvious choice, but do you want to relate the story?
Well, yeah. I I knew those. I knew Darkstar Orchestra, and Rob Baracco, who was in the Zen Tricksters, was in the band. So I had that very.
I
Uh,
remember that version very well. That was the version I saw the most was when Rob was in the band.
yeah, that was a very strong connection right there. But they knew of me from gigs at Darkstar and Zen Tricksters festivals and stuff. So we were very very familiar with each other. So they knew that I was capable of covering the job. So originally, John Kadlicek, they when he started playing with Further, he thought he was going to have to he was going to try to do both, and then so originally I was just subbing for him, and then I guess they realized that that wasn't going to work. They had pretty big ambitions of how much they were going to play, so he had to leave, and and now 13 years later, I guess I'm still there. It's 14 years, 13,
Yeah, it is.
14 years. It's going to be, yeah.
It has. Go ahead, man.
I've always been curious, how would you describe in your own words what that special magical quality is that Dark Star brings to that music? There are so many tribute bands and different musicians out there that are going to do different things with the Grateful Dead catalog. What's the thing, maybe not as obvious as it might seem about DSO, that you just really find like compelling for you?
Well, I mean, initially, the thing that set Darkstar apart from other Dead cover bands, tribute bands, whatever you call them, was the fact that they were the first band that made it their policy to do set lists, Grateful Dead set lists. I mean, you had that thing of the Dead having doing a different set list every night, and the music being very different. So they were able to do that. And then as they grew larger, in popularity and playing bigger places, they took it to another level where uh, we we have, as we do this now, as we have all the gear for the different eras of the Grateful Dead. So, and we set the stage up like they did, and we approached the arrangements for the songs for that era. So instead of just most uh, Grateful Dead bands just play the songs they want to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, that's a perfectly fine thing. And they just, and even the Zen Tricksters, when we would play Grateful Dead, we might play like St. Stephen like they did in '69, and then go into Scarlet Begonias like they did it in '77. That kind of a thing. There was no, but now with Darkstar, taking it to a pretty sophisticated level of recreating the arrangements, the gear, the stage setup. So it's a lot of minutia. Actually, it's a lot of we we know we're pretty well versed in a lot of fine details of all the different eras of the Grateful Dead, and so and so if we do a '69 show, it's a very different show than a 1990 show or something like that. And we summon up a different energy for that, and actually I find that up to be a lot of fun. Uh, and then of course every uh, third or fourth night we do what we call an elective set list where we play anything we want, So
Kevin, you're right. This was such a good chat, and I really did learn a ton about Darkstar and how they operate. I know we're going to get back into that in a minute here, but before that, as always, just wanted to remind everyone that we are on social media, of course, at All That Jam Pod, allthatjampod.com. And Kevin, I have been getting into Threads. I enjoy it. I'm digging it. I'm
It's
having some
kind of
fun.
like it's Facebook meets Twitter, huh?
Yeah, I like it, and it seems like there's some good stuff happening there, so that will continue to grow. And then, of course, we are available to listen to everywhere and anywhere you get your podcasts. So make sure to find us, like, subscribe, YouTube as well. So wherever you are, you can find us and listen not only to those shorter clips, but also got some full interviews up as well. And Kevin, why don't you let us know what we've got coming up this week?
Sure. Tomorrow we have Ari Joshua on pairing songs with collaborators. We both got to hang out with Ari a bit at Dick's, and he is just such a fantastic guy. Um, Wednesday, Adam Deitch on his producer project. Thursday, we got Nigel Hall on George Duke and Plain Style, and he goes into a little bit about how much he loved George Duke, which was fantastic. Friday, Bob Braylov about writing Picasso Moon, which you got to tune in for. That's fantastic. Saturday, Billy Ayuso on his 52 Hertz LP, and then Sunday we're going to have Will Baumgartner from Pamlico Sound talking about live versus studio. Also, you're going to want to check out our YouTube channel because tomorrow we'll be dropping the latest in our series of full interviews, and it is Andrew McConaughey from Drunken Heart. Hearts or Heart?
Hearts.
Hearts. So Andrew McConaughey from Drunken Hearts, and we had a great talk with him. We put out a couple clips a while back. We at this point are pushing a year ahead on some of these things if we waited to release them from when we talk to the people, which is good because that's why we do all the little clips every day. And there we go. Let's get back into this interview. We asked about all the equipment. You don't know what Dead show you're playing each night. You have to have equipment for all these years. You have to have the singer, the extra drummer. And so we got into a lot about that. And then we asked him the philosophy question, and he got deep with us. And we'll see you on the other side. Do you have a philosophy on life, music, being a performer?
I don't know if I have a philosophy. I would say that I had, best way to put it is that I had goals early on. My father was a musician, and so I had I was brought up to have be very suspicious of the music business and not have too high expectations for so I didn't come into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be a star, or anything like that. I thought so. My goals were like, oh, I want to make my living as a musician, which is right off the bat a hard thing to do, and I've been totally successful at that. I've never had a real job. I've never done anything for money that didn't have a guitar in my hand. I've taught guitar and played music, and that's all I've ever done. So that makes me very happy. And I wanted to get to the point where I would make some albums, and I made about 5 albums with the Zen Tricksters and with Donna Jean Godshall, and maybe 6. Anyway, um, and I wanted to get to the point where I wasn't playing in bars all the time and was playing in theaters. It's such a nicer experience, and that's pretty much what I do right now. So, uh, and I hoped that I would get to play music with some of my heroes, and I've done extensively a lot of that. And so I really have. I'm very humble and but proud at the same time of having accomplished my goals. So I'm just I'm just grateful to be out there playing music and making people happy and making me happy. So
So it sounds like being on the road is something that has really worked for you over time. Do you feel the same way about it now that maybe you used to? Is it still something that you kind of look forward to?
well, the thing about being on the road is that the 4 hours that you're playing uh, are tremendous fun. Even if you work too, but they're fun. It's that other 20 hours a day when you're traveling, sleeping in a bus, and I wake up in the morning. I'm at the venue. We load in about 11:30 or noon, and I'm just there all day. So make the best of it. But of course, I miss my wife being on the road and my home. But it's a trade off. So yeah, I mean, it was. It's a little. Some of the being on the road has gotten a little old. After doing it for how long I've been doing it for, like 25 or 30 years that I've been traveling to play music. I was lucky in the beginning. I was able to play like 5, 6 nights a week just on Long Island or in the New York City or in the New York metropolitan area.
Sleep in your own bed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But
do you guys have a bus? How do you guys travel?
yeah, we have a tour bus and we have a tractor trailer for the gear. Because, like I said, we
Oh,
need a
because you
lot.
have to have all the gear for every night for every different
Exactly.
show, right?
It's loaded. It's loaded. Um, and we own our bus and we own our truck and throw a lot of money into keeping it running. But, you know, travel millions of miles. But well, I mean, I'm not in the bus every night. We have a day off, or we're playing 2 nights in the same place. We stay in the hotel, which is good.
Nice, very nice. All right. Well, let me ask you: do you ever have an itch to get back in the studio and record your own music?
Yeah, yeah. I've been actually thinking about that um, during the pandemic, being stuck at home. My wife and I started writing tunes together. She wrote some lyrics, and and we wrote about 10 tunes. So, not to mention that I have quite a big backlog of tunes that have never been recorded in the studio. So I have the tunes. I just gotta figure out the logistics of it. I like to do that, even though it's almost it's almost an exercise in futility in recording an album these days. People don't buy albums anymore. People don't buy CDs anymore. Like some people buy records, but you can't make any money streaming. I mean, I was just reading about someone who they had I don't know, 20 million streams and they made like $1,700 or something.
Right. I've seen a trend with jam bands. A lot of younger bands are doing, they have their Bandcamp page, obviously, but they do singles. They'll release one song a month, and somebody will pay 99 cents for a song, maybe, I think is the theory, instead of $7.99 for an album or something.
Yeah.
Not that 99 cents is going to get you very far, but it's better than, I guess, the 0.01 cent that Spotify is giving you.
That's true.
Yeah, there's we all.
I'd be doing it for my own satisfaction more than anything, and then I would try to get it out there and sell it at our merch table or whatever, But I wouldn't be going into thinking like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million here with this new album, or I'm going to get signed to Columbia Records or something like that. I don't have those. Yeah.
So what you got, Amanda?
It's something about like having that disc. You put all the work into it. You've finessed all these tunes into a nice listening format, and it's just feels like it's something of a legacy or something like that. You're leaving something behind. If anybody cares,
the artifact. I always call it the artifact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like what you're talking about, to me, it's the conceptual side of an album that I really want to know about. The decisions that what to put in what order. Recording itself is such a fascinating process to those of us who don't do that. Just to think about how that happens. I mean, for you, do you have a preference on studio time versus live? Are they both meaningful in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've far more time on the stage than I have in the studio, but there is something very satisfying about doing the studio. You don't get that immediate feedback or anything like that, but it's the flexing of the creative muscle that's so satisfying in the studio. You have to make you can do anything you want, especially nowadays. So I would like to hear a string quartet on this, anything, any idea you get, or I want the guitar to be backwards, or something, whatever. Those are kind of obvious things that go back to the Beatles, but just that kind of making all those kind of creative decisions and making them happen. And then you get to hear it back and say, wow, that's really cool.
Kevin, so awesome. And actually, I have to say, you running down the list of everyone that we're going to be hearing from this week just tells me we are doing some great stuff here. So really excited for everyone to get to hear all of these conversations, whether they're the smaller pieces or like today, Jeff's entire conversation with us. So I would say to everybody out there, let's keep in touch. Let's know who you want to talk to, and we'll make it happen.
There we go. And with that, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. I'll see you next week, Amanda.
All right, Kevin, have a great one.